In a few years, your Social Security check will decrease. That is a guarantee if we don't do anything. If we haven't been doing anything for 40 years, and that's what we're going to get into today. Why exactly your Social Security check is going to be reduced here sooner than you think. We don't have much time left. There's all the reputable sources out there, the Social Security Trustees Report, the Committee for Financial Planning, the Congress, everybody is on the same page that your Social Security check will be reduced. The Social Security trustees said probably about from this month, about 85 more checks, you'll get it 100%. And then everybody, there is no grandfathering in. Social Security can only pay out what they get coming in. And once the trust fund, what they get coming in and what they have in the trust fund, we'll talk about that. Then when the trust fund disappears, when it's all used up, when it's paid out to people, then everybody's going to get a 23% cut. Why? Because politicians haven't done anything to fix this for 40 years. Why? That's what we're going to get into today. So we're going to go through all of the reasons why politicians haven't done anything for the past 40 years. And I hate to break the news to you, but it's because of us. That's 100% of the issue. We keep getting distracted. Politicians that's their best thing. Their best weapon they have is distracting us and telling us all kinds of BS, and then just to shut us up, and then we go away and we shut up. So we're going to go through the entire list of all of the things politicians use, all of the BS they've been using for 40 years to shut us up. And then we're going to get into a live Q&A. We've got someone that got some questions about an independent senior care facility. I've got a case out of Pennsylvania. A lady got a $63,000 overpayment. There was a story in Pennsylvania about that. They couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I heard the story. I'm like, most of my regular viewers will immediately know where the issue is, why she's overpaid $63,000. 99% chance we are going to be right. So I'll play that as well. And I'll answer all your questions on all things Social Security. So if you got any questions, make sure you type them into the live chat. If you're watching this on a video later, make sure you subscribe. And that way, in case you ever do have a question in the future. Okay, let's get down into why you're going to get a cut of 23%. Number one is politicians divide and conquer. This is, thousands of years, politicians, that's what they do. Throw, to the lions and watch us fight each other. So what they do is they said, oh, don't worry, don't listen to that person. They're just a left or a right or a conservative or liberal or Republican or Democrat. And we just sit here and we fight about our turf and we forget about the issue. That's the number one weapon that politicians have, is they say, well, if we divide these people, they can't join together and get things done. So that's the number one thing it's not only in the United States, obvious worldwide for thousands of years. And you think we would have progressed over thousands of years and we wouldn't fall for it, but we still do. I think there's already some comments in there that says, oh, don't listen to this guy. He's a liberal or conservative or whatever. People, from both sides attack me and they said, oh, you're on the other side. So I think it's kind of funny. All right. The new one is, Elon Musk finding all these zombies, the 150-year-old zombies, 120-year-old zombies, 200-year-old zombies that are receiving Social Security. And the reason Social Security, why you're going to get a cut in the future, is because Social Security is giving all this money out to all these 120, 150 years old. Guess what? How many perp walks did you see of a 150-year-old or a 55-year-old pretending to be 150 years old? How many perp walks have we seen? How many people have been let out of their houses in handcuffs for Social Security fraud for receiving those benefits? Zero. I said this from day one. He was looking at the wrong database. Social Security has the Numident and they have the MBR. The Numident is what Elon Musk was looking at. Zero money comes out of that. Zero money has come out of that database since 1935. The money comes out of the MBR, and he didn't look at that. So he didn't know what he's talking about. He has finally admitted, it's one of those things where you make all this crazy allegation and you get big news and stuff like that, and then you go off to the side and says, yeah, it wasn't true. That's pretty much what he did. He went on Joe Rogan and says, okay, it wasn't true. So let's put a pin in that one. Still looking for the Social Security Trust Fund. So when you call up politicians and say, hey, I heard I'm going to get a cut of Social Security, we're all going to get cut by 23%. What's going on? Whatever happened to the trust fund? And the politicians say, it's lost. I've got, I've got my shovel. I'm out in the back of the White House and the Treasury Department. I'm digging holes and I'm looking for that trust fund. And as soon as I find that trust fund, I'll put it back in there. It's all BS. All he has to do is go look at the Social Security Trustees report, and it tells you exactly where the trust fund is right there. The trust fund, this particular trust fund, has been building up since the 1980s. And a few years ago, it stopped building up because baby boomers started pulling money out, and now they're pulling money out. So you know where the trust fund is? It's in your wallet. It's in your bank account. If you're receiving Social Security benefits, you just got to look at the numbers. Social Security trustees put these out every single year. They said, okay, we have reserves, trust fund, $2.6 trillion. Yep, it's there, all present and or accounted for, as we used to say in the Marine Corps. And then we've got FICA tax coming in, $1.1 trillion. We've got interest on that trust fund. We've got taxation of benefits that people pay taxes. And all of that comes of $1.3 trillion. And then we have 1.3 that went out and everything. So we were about $100 billion short. So where did we get that $100 billion? We had to pull it out of the trust fund. So the trust fund was 2.6 trillion when it started in 2023. In 2024, it went down to 2.5 because had to pull that money out. And this year, in 2025, they'll pull out more money, another 100, 200 billion. Next year, another 2 or 300 billion. And then in 85 more checks, no more trust fund. So what Social Security has to pay out is what they have. And all they have is money coming in essentially that year. So that's why we're going to get a 23% cut. Everybody's going to get a 23% cut. No ifs, ands, or buts. Again, unless we do something. And we can't do anything if we keep falling for these stupid tricks. So let's not. All right. So they blaming undocumented immigrants. This is the new, well, this has been around forever as well. It's always blaming the out group. Undocumented immigrants do not receive Social Security. They do not receive Social Security retirement benefits, Social Security disability benefits, SSI, Medicare. They don't receive it. How do I know? I've done several videos on this. You have to prove that you're in the country legally. And it goes through the system, a SAVE system. The Social Security employees, you show somebody a green card, and they have to check it through the Department of Homeland Security to make sure it's all correct and up to date and everything. So if you're in this country without proper documentation, then you do not receive Social Security benefits. And people always come back and says, well, there's these people that are not in this country legally and they're receiving food and this. That's not Social Security benefits. This is also part of the misdirection. We're talking about Social Security. If you want to change the subject and talk something else, then more power to you. But let's focus on Social Security. Okay. Another thing is, I get this in the comments all the time. Ed, you people have been complaining and, scaring people about, Social Security running out for 40 years. Yes. Yes, we have. The Social Security Trustees report has done this report every single year. And every single year it says they have to do a 75-year estimate. That's in the law. They have to do estimate for 75 years. So they don't look like other companies where that says, okay, this quarter, the people that own the company are going to get billions of dollars. And what happens after that, we don't care. Social Security, they have to look at 75 years in the future. So they look at 75 years in the future. And for 40 years, they've been saying, okay, there's going to come a day when that trust fund runs out. And it's not because of, birth rates or anything like that. It's because less money has been coming into the Social Security Administration. Why? Because there's a cap. There is a cap on how much you pay into Social Security. If you make for this year $176,100, you pay Social Security on every penny you make. Anything over $176,000, stop paying taxes. Stop paying FICA Social Security tax on that. And most of the money since the 1980s has been going to the top. It's eventually going to trickle down to us, Reagan said. So we've been waiting. But it's still been going to the top, and they don't pay FICA taxes. So therefore, if we would have got that money, then Social Security would have been good. But the money's been going to the top. All right. And another thing is they say, oh, yeah, we've got an easy solution. The easy solution is let's just go ahead and raise the retirement age. Mitt Romney came out with an editorial in the New York Times a few days ago, and I talked about that. He says, yeah, let's talk about raising the retirement age. He also said raise the cap on, people paying into Social Security, which is good. Most of our community here believes in that. But he also says raise the retirement age. And that's okay if you've got a nice cushy, office job. But if you're a manual labor, raising it to 70, 71, 72 years old, yeah. There are other alternatives than raising the retirement age. That's always seems to be the easiest. Well, just raise the retirement age. Okay, if that's the choice we want to make, but don't use it as the only solution. Okay, what else? Ponzi scheme. Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme eventually runs out. Social Security will be here for hundreds of years. This is what another thing politicians, it's going bankrupt. No, it's not going bankrupt. You're just going to get less money. Social Security, if we decide to go ahead and, privatize Social Security, then that's a whole different issue. But if we keep Social Security the way it's been since 1935 in terms of, a public, Social Security Administration and all that, we don't privatize it, Social Security will be around here for hundreds of years. No problem. The problem is how much you're going to get in your check. That's the issue. Social Security, as long as there's still people working and paying into Social Security, 100 years from now, there's going to be money for people to receive Social Security benefits. How much that is, that's the issue. That's the issue. Oh, unless, of course, we're all replaced by AI and robots and nobody's working, and then that's a whole different thing. But all right. So it's not a Ponzi scheme. Again, Elon Musk kept talking about that as well. And again, all you have to do is look at the numbers right there, and it says, hey, income coming in. There's always going to be income coming in. It just, there's no more trust fund. That's what's running out. So not a Ponzi scheme. And a Ponzi scheme usually hides where the money is and stuff. And all you have to do is look at the Social Security Trustees report, and you can see exactly where the money is. So another one is kind of the fait accompli type of situation where it says, don't even worry about Social Security. Forget about it. It's not going to be here anyway. Young people, I was guilty of that when I was young last year, maybe a few years ago. That it's who cares? It's all going away anyway. That kind of leads into the whole, that's a Ponzi scheme and stuff. And so people don't care about Social Security. So they think it's not going to be here in the future. So why worry about it? Why should we go ahead and call our politicians and try to get something done when it's all gone anyway? So, and then privatization. So privatization, what is privatization? So you might agree with privatization, you might not. President Trump just threw out the idea that he is looking seriously at the Australian system. And what is the Australian system? It's basically privatization, where the money goes into kind of a Wall Street type thing. And you may or may not agree with that. The devil's always in the details in those particular situations. Who is going to monitor that? Who is going to control that trust fund? It's going to be Jared Kushner or Don Jr. or, what are we going to do with, it's going to be put into Bitcoin or, whatever. So that's the issue there. So whether you agree with privatization or not, that is where they're leaning right now. And even the Secretary of Treasury said, they're trying a backdoor to privatization to give it over to their buddies on Wall Street, because Wall Street has wanted this trillions of dollars. They never wanted Social Security. They always wanted that money to go into Wall Street so they could bet with it. They've never liked Social Security. And so they've been trying to destroy it since 1935 and make it privatized. So another is it's an entitlement we can't afford. Absolutely, we can afford it. It is a social safety net for people that are retirement, disability, there's survivors, children. If we can't afford that, they've never said, just passed the Department of Defense budget close to $1 trillion. That's not an issue. But we can't go back to the Depression. We can go back to the Depression where, people were, eating, cat food, or if they were lucky enough to be able to fly. Yeah, so we can definitely. Another is the greedy boomers. There's an attempt to kind of a generational warfare where it's like, the young people complain, those baby boomers, they're stealing all that money. Well, the trust fund, they put that, the issue there is the young people think Social Security is going bankrupt. And the reason it's going bankrupt is the boomers are taking the money out. Again, they're wrong. Social Security is not going bankrupt. It'll be around here for hundreds of years. What is disappearing is the Social Security trust funds that the baby boomers put in. So they're taking it out. So if you're a baby boomer getting a Social Security check, then about 10% of your check comes from the trust fund that you, since the 1980s, built up. So stop the whole generational welfare. And waiting for politicians to fix it. This is the number one, probably one of the biggest things, that they're just kicking the can down the road. The current policy of the current administration is essentially they don't have any policy. That is their policy. A lack of a policy is a policy. They say pretty much, oh yeah, we're not going to touch it. Okay, beautiful, but it's going to run out, and you kind of have to touch it. You have to do something constructive to make sure people don't get that 23% cut in a few years. What is your plan? They don't have a rule of, they haven't had a plan, except for the last few days they have mentioned, maybe privatizing it like the Australian system, partial privatization. So long story short, we just need to stop falling for these stupid arguments, and we need to get serious about saving Social Security. And when politicians on my website, let me go ahead and pull it up there. I will put this in the description of my YouTube channel. You can 24help.org. This is how you contact your state leaders. Your federal, you can take a screenshot of this, call those numbers. You can find your state and local leaders as well. And I've also got some little snippets that you can email about stop the cut, the 23% cut, cutting Medicaid, that's another big one, and then office service. One of the things that politicians do is they make the service, customer service, so terrible that you will hate Social Security. And someone sent me a graphic today, so a thank you to that person that just emailed me this graphic from Robert Reich, used to be the Secretary of Labor. Yeah, Secretary of Labor. But yeah, how to destroy public services. You reduce the budget, public services. You eliminate the positions in public services because the budget's been reduced. Social Security, Elon Musk took his chainsaw, cut out 7,000 plus positions at Social Security. That is making Social Security even worse. It was bad before Elon Musk came with his chainsaw. It's 10 times worse now. It's going to get worse in the future, and people are going to blame Social Security and blame the Social Security employees. But who did it? Politicians did it. They are responsible for customer service in their local offices, and they want it to be terrible. Because when it's terrible, then they're going to complain about the decline in quality, efficient customer service, and then they're going to say, well, the government can't do anything, and therefore we need to go ahead and privatize it. And so if you're in Florida and you have insurance, home insurance, tell us about privatization of insurance in Florida. How is that going down there? So, all right. So let's get into some questions here. Again, if you have got any questions, I've got a few video questions as well. But let's see. My father is going into an independent senior care facility on January 2nd. He needs assisted living, but this is the best my brother can do. Yeah, this is going to be a big issue going forward. And to go into a care facility, if you have money or insurance, it's quite a bit easy. If you got money, you can do anything, right? But what happens is people, they've got their parents' savings, and they use all that savings to go into a facility, and it doesn't last forever. It's like the trust fund savings doesn't last forever. And then once it runs out, the only alternative is Medicaid. And they've cut $1 trillion from the Medicaid budget, so that's going to be very, very difficult. A lot of these nursing homes are cutting out Medicaid beds, where they say, okay, like in the facility, there's like 90 beds, there's 100 beds total, and 90 of those are going to, people with money and people with private insurance and stuff. But the other 10 will give to Medicaid. We don't make, very much on Medicaid, if at all. But at least we got some money coming in for those 10 beds. When Medicaid cuts back, those facilities are going to say, yeah, we're losing money on Medicaid, so we're just going to maybe one bed there. So it's going to be very, very difficult going forward. So we're seeing a lot of people that are in a particular facility and then their money runs out, and then they have to go scrambling around to try to find some place that takes Medicaid. And depending on what state you're in, there's called ladybird laws, but if your parent who's in that facility has any assets, like a home, for instance, the state can go after that home. So if your parents were like, yeah, when I pass, we'll give you the home. But if they go into Medicaid, Medicaid is going to go after that home. You can protect that if you put it into an irrevocable trust about 5 years before. There's a 5-year look back in most places. And again, there's this ladybird law that they can't go after you. But each state is a little bit different. So definitely, I'm not a lawyer, so contact whoever. And then, contact an estate planning attorney for all of that, and contact your politicians and saying, hey, you said you're going to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid to kick out undocumented immigrants from Medicaid. Again, undocumented immigrants don't receive Medicaid, federally funded Medicaid. Some states decided to give state money for that, but they, $1 trillion. And then they said, oh, we're going to kick off 26-year-olds that are receiving, lazy and stuff. We're going to put them back to work. That doesn't account for $1 trillion. There's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars that are lost, from Medicaid. So even if you're eligible, you might get kicked off. Let's watch this story here. Let me see if I can get this. Hello, everybody. Yes, and crew. Yes. Let me see. I've got a new little thingy here. Let's see if we can get this working correctly.
Says that she has nowhere else to turn after the Social Security Administration sent her a notice asking for more than $60,000.
She reached out to 11 Investigates, concerned she won't be able to take care of her son who has disabilities. Our Amy Hudak has covered these Social Security clawbacks for more than 2 years now. She is live at the administration.
Okay, that's the first clue. She won't be able to take care of her son who has disabilities. So this is a quiz for our regular viewers. Regular viewers will immediately know what the overpayment is caused from.
Office with the plea for help. Amy?
Yeah, Gordon and Lisa, Ruth Ann Pickard has a rare autoimmune disease. That's why after 30 years working as a nurse for the VA, she had to quit her job. She gets monthly infusions that she now can't afford, and it's all because of a letter from the Social Security Administration. The office is right behind me.
How can you do this?
That's what Ruth Ann Pickard wants to ask the Social Security Administration after the government agency said it overpaid her $63,000, and she needs to pay it back by December 5th.
Okay, $63,000. So regular viewers know exactly what's going on here. She's receiving, obviously, disability benefits, and that large amount means that Social Security basically said, okay, you've been receiving disability benefits, but for some reason you should have never received that benefits. If you get paid over $1,000 or $2,000 or something like that, obviously we know what the deal is. But $63,000, that's basically they're saying, okay, yeah, you were never entitled to it from day one. And regular viewers know, y'all are sleuths here. You know exactly where we're going here.
Pickard said the first letter came in February of 2024. That's when her Social Security disability payments stopped coming. She filed for a waiver and waited.
I got a letter from Social Security office 17 months later saying we received your request for a waiver. 17 months I waited.
They told her she was...
Yeah, that right there, that's completely unacceptable. Might have happened, 2024, was that during still, the offices were open and everything, and they were, there is no excuse for that. That's completely unacceptable, 100%.
Out of luck. The reason?
It says you've been working full time.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait, I'm not working. I haven't worked.
Her adult son with disabilities gets a waiver for his care through Medicaid. The Social Security...
Yep. So that's it right there. In some states, Pennsylvania included, they have a program. So for those people out there with disabilities, you're taking care of someone. Basically how it works is the states, these are mostly state programs, and not every state has them. I wish every state did, Let us know if you have it in your particular state. So if you're using this in your particular state, please type in the comments or whatever. Said, yes, I live in Kansas and it has it, and here's how you do it, and yada, yada, yada. Let's help each other with all this. So this lady has a son that's disabled. And the state says, okay, this son is disabled to such a level that probably needs to go to a facility to be taken care of. That facility is those facilities are very expensive. So the state made a good decision, which I would argue, that says, well, we always like to keep people at home because, for money reasons as well, but it's also good to keep people at home around their loved ones. So if we can keep this person at home, that'd be great. But, if people work and then they, have to go to work every day, then they can't take care of that person. So they have to go to a facility. Well, but what if we pay that person to take care of that disabled individual? So that's what these states have done. They said, okay, we could pay $5,000 a month to an institution, a facility to take care of this person, or we can pay you $2,000 to take care of that person. So this sounds, again, I don't have 100% of it, but this is where it's all going. She has been receiving money from the state to take care of her son. Okay? And she said, what am I going to do? Who's going to take care of my son? So that's kind of an indication there. So let's watch the rest of this here.
The administration treats the waiver as her income and said she should have never qualified for Social Security disability in the first place.
So in the state of Pennsylvania, they have this Medicaid waiver, but it is income. That's how they're treating it. It might not, let me get over here a little bit. The IRS, that's a whole different issue, but, she might say, well, the IRS doesn't treat that as income because it's this, that, and the other. Okay, that's the IRS. But Social Security, she's on disability benefits. If you're on disability benefits, you cannot work. You can work, but your work is limited. For the first 9 months, you get the trial work period. After that, if you go over the substantial gainful activity, which is for next year is what, $1,690, then Social Security can cut you off. So what happened is, it sounds, so people in Pennsylvania, if you're in Pennsylvania, reach out to this news place and say, y'all are terrible. Number one, you're terrible investigators. If you've got someone there that regularly follows up on Social Security type stuff, then they kind of should have known to ask the right questions. But reach out to those people and say, hey, here's the deal. She was receiving income because even though she was taking care of her own child, they kind of look at it as, okay, we are paying you to take care of someone that is disabled. And whether it's your son or daughter or another person's son or daughter or someone, down the street, we are paying you. And so anybody can go out there and do this. If you, are interested in something like that, reach out to, number one, see if your state has that type of program, and apply and say, yes, I'm interested in taking care of a disabled person and getting money from the state to help you out and help that person out. It's a win-win-win-win-win situation. So in her particular case, she is working. She just happens to be taking care of the son or daughter, right? So, but she is working, and therefore Social Security determined that you're working, you're making over the allowable limits, you have been working since, essentially, I guess you've been receiving Social Security benefits, and therefore we want that $63,000 back. And that is the situation. And there's some good news here, possibly.
So I've been sitting on eggshells for almost 2 years, waiting for them now, right before the holiday, to decide.
That was unacceptable.
What, we want our money. It doesn't matter what happens to you or what happens to your son. We just want our money.
Pickard already lost her husband, a Vietnam veteran, suddenly. Now she's afraid of losing her home.
If you start taking my money that I do get, what's going to be first? My electric, my heat?
And fears her son will lose the care he deserves.
To put him in a group home.
There we go.
Would probably kill me.
Now, we did reach out to our state senators as well as her local congressman, Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly's team got back to us saying they are aware of Ruth Ann Pickard's case and they've been working with her for several weeks, but they do not comment on these cases kind of as they're pending and everybody.
And Social Security doesn't talk about those either. So, I mean, if Social Security tells her whatever, then she can go in there, but Social Security doesn't divulge that type of private information like that. Okay, so a couple of things on the overpayment. Let's see if we can help this young lady out. Okay, let me go ahead and get out of there. All right, so if that lady, let's reach out to that lady and let's help her out. So if you, whatever you can do, go on to the stories website or whatever, let's reach out to her and give her a little peace of mind here. All right, so she has an overpayment of $63,000. Yes, Social Security always sends you that nasty letter and says, yeah, we want the money back now. Yeah, and at the end of the letter, it says you have appeal rights. You have, you can appeal the decision. And she did file a waiver, it sounds like, a 632. I'm not sure if it was a 632 or a 561. Those are the two ones. But from my estimation, based on the story, it is a valid overpayment. It might not be $63,000. Did you have a trial work period there? You can work for 9 months. If it's a valid overpayment, that doesn't necessarily mean the $63,000 is 100% correct. So you should ask for an entire accounting to make sure everything is correct. Okay, that's number one. If it determines that you do have an overpayment, whether it's $63,000 or $33,000 or whatever the case may be, they're going to still say, give us our money now. Nobody, based on my decades of working in Social Security Administration, almost nobody pays it back in a lump sum. They set up some type of a payment plan, and it's easy to do up to 60 months, and it's zero interest. So you just say, okay, hey, all right, it is what it is. I owe $33, $45, $5 or whatever, $1,000. Go ahead and take it every month out of my Social Security check for the next 60 months. If it's more than 60 months, then you have to go through the SSA 632 there and provide financial documentation. So what you're basically saying is, okay, I owe this amount of money, and if I have to pay it back within 60 months, that's going to be $500 a month or whatever, and I can't do that. Here's how much money I've got coming in. Here's how much money I got going out, and here's how much money I've got left over. And then, whether it takes 7 years, 10 years, 20 years to pay it back, then they'll figure that out. Okay. Another thing, she is on disability benefits on her own record, and she was a nurse for 30 years. So her benefit amount is probably good. If she was getting a high paid nurse, but she said her husband passed away. So if you're 60 years old, then you can file for survivor benefits. Actually, technically, she's disabled. A disabled widow can start benefits at 50 years old, between 50 and 59. But since disability is an issue because of her work, that might not be a good avenue to go down. But 60 years old, she can start survivor benefits. So if you want, sounds like your disability has already been cut off, okay? You can file for retirement benefits on your own, just regular retirement benefits if you're 62 years old, and the work is still relevant, but it's higher limits. This year for 2026, it's $24,480, and so you can still take care of your son just as long as you stay under the $24,480. But if there's more money as a survivor, or if you're under 62, then you can collect survivor benefits. The monthly limits still apply. So, all right. So let's reach out to that lady. And it sounds like the news there didn't really help her a whole heck of a lot. Hopefully the Social Security Administration, since it is what's called a congressional now that there's a congressperson involved, usually that always that expedites everything. It might not necessarily get you the answer, but at least it expedites it. Yeah. The whole thing, 17 months to get a decision. That's completely 100%, as we used to say in the Marine Corps, unsat. Ed, thanks for all you do. Thank you. Thank you for all you do, Cedric. If you're a member because you're joining us here. But to become a member of the team, you have to go out there and help someone. So take the information, share a video, whatever you can do, reach out to a politician. As soon as you do any of that, you're now a member of the most awesomest team in America. Yeah. Dr. Ed, I shared your channel with a very dear elderly friend of mine. The information you got from you really helped her in a struggle with Social Security. Thank you and your community. All right. So we've got our first superhero of the day, Spouse 775. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and it's kind of like the old 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing. It's like, oh yeah, I shared it didn't really help anybody. But then 2 months or 3 months later, my friend shared it with a friend who shared it with another friend. And yeah, so it's a beautiful thing. I live in Florida. I heard a state rep tell about changing our state constitution to require insurance, even if you have no mortgage or you will not qualify for homestead exemption. Yeah, I grew up in Bradenton and Homestead, so I know about hurricanes and floods and all that, and insurance there. I think most of the insurance companies have left the states because they're for profit. They're looking at profit. So yeah. My grand put my sister's name on the land in 1963. Medicaid wasn't happy with this. Yeah, were we talking about the 5-year look back type thing? They might not be happy, but if they can't touch it, then they can't touch it. So whether they're happy or not, we're not helpless. We're powerful in large numbers if we all speak up often. Exactly, Lisa. That is, but the politicians, yeah, they know that's their number one threat is for us to finally come together and do something. And it is possible. It is possible. There's this little thing called the Epstein files where unanimous decision by our representatives and our senators, and it was signed by the president. There was only one guy, Clay Higgins out of Louisiana, that went against us, but everybody else unanimous. So it is possible. Could you imagine if we had the same with Social Security, where they said, okay, we're going to raise the cap or we're going to do this, and no more cuts for Social Security. Actually, you're going to go up. The people that are really struggling, let's give them an extra couple of $100. There's actually a bill in Congress that talks about that, but a bill, unfortunately, is not a law. And yeah, I could sing the song, but you can sing it to yourself if you like, because everybody would swipe away if I started singing. If you Google Ladybird Law and your state doesn't have one, check for life estate with the power of disposition. My state doesn't have Ladybird Law, but does have the life estate option. Thank you, Nona Dona. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna leave that up there a second so y'all can write that down. So the Ladybird Law, and it comes from LBJ. Came out of Texas, Lyndon Baines Johnson's wife, Lady Bird Johnson. LBJ. Yeah, that's what it was started. And so that's why they call it kind of the Lady Bird there. So yeah, take that Lady Bird Law and also the life estate with power of disposition. Again, that's to protect your home. So if you want to give your home to a family member when you pass and you end up in Medicaid for whatever reason, they can come after it unless you protect that home. So let's see. I've got a couple of video questions. Let's get into one or two of those.
Hi, Dr. Weir. My name is Mary Jenkins. You had made a comment a few times that we should go online and check out all of the information. I haven't had any problems. I've been getting my Social Security check. I'm 69. So yesterday I decided to go jerk around on the website just to see what they changed. They wanted my ID. So I put the front and back of my ID in. The front of the ID had my old address. My new address, my current address for the past 5 years, is written on the back of the driver's license, which is what DMV requests in Connecticut. So that came through. And then it popped up with my old address. I tried to change it back to my new address. I don't know if they.
Yeah, the all the little technical thingies, the administrative things on setting up a Social Security account, which I recommend. Social Security recommends it as well, to make sure your earnings are correct and everything, and make sure someone doesn't get in there and pretend to be you. So if you go in there and set up an account, even if you don't use it, it's good to set up an account because it protects you. So yeah, it's a nightmare. It is, but it's a nightmare for a reason. They make it difficult to get in there, and that's also difficult for you. But it makes it 100 times more difficult for other people to go in there, pretend to be you. So that's what you just think of it that way. You just have to go through the extra little things. With your address change like that, you just might have to call Social Security and, update it or whatever the case may be. So yeah. That's probably the solution. Call Social Security and just go ahead and update your address over the phone, and then wait a couple of days until it hits your MBR, where the actual money comes out of. Elon Musk, if you're listening. Yeah. So all calls and letters to government reps are documented and kept track of. Large numbers can be effective. Exactly. And we're coming up with a counter. We want to do 1 million for 2026. We're having a goal. We're making a goal for 2026. I'm putting together a kind of a tracker right now. And whenever you do stuff like that, you go in there and we're gonna see what we can do for 2026 to make sure y'all don't get cuts. Make sure we don't get cuts. You guys know in Utah they were building camps for homeless people. You got a choice, jail or camp. You can't leave either one. It's real. Yeah, homeless. It's not as though we don't have enough places in America to put homeless people, but yeah, we have just chosen not to. So let's see here. Get another video question.
Dr. Weir, my girlfriend is 65 years old right now. She started collecting her dead spouse's Social Security when she was like 63 years old. I am on Social Security retirement now. I was on Social Security disability, but it turned over because I am 67 years old. Now, we are thinking of getting married, but she's afraid it's going to reduce her benefits because she's living off her dead spouse's benefits. Is that true? And is that the scenario we look forward to, or is there another scenario? Because I did read something about there's a scenario where it can also increase. Can you explain that to me?
All right, absolutely. So if a person is receiving survivor benefits and they remarry after the age of 60 years old, then that remarriage is what Social Security calls disregarded. That is a disregarded marriage. Social Security doesn't even look at it. So if a person is receiving survivor benefits, get married after 60, no problem whatsoever. So doesn't sound like it's an issue for her at all. How it could increase is if she marries you and her benefit on your record is more. But remember, for survivor benefits, you get up to 100% of that person's benefit. For living spouse benefits, you get up to 50%. So it depends on how much her surviving spouse benefit is and how much your full benefit amount is. But usually the survivor benefit is the most. But if she marries you and her survivor benefit is more, don't do anything, just keep on keeping on, make sure she changes her address and everything like that if she decides to move. And then if anything should happen to you and your survivor benefit is more, then she can jump onto your survivor benefit. So, but nothing like that is going to happen for another 50 years, right? So you're going to be around with us for a while and take that information and help out other people. If I retired in 2024 and waited until 2025 to collect Social Security, do I owe IRMA for 2024? Yes. Well, they will start charging you, but if you worked in 2024, the IRMA won't hit until 2026. It's always 2 years. And there is a very logical reason why that it is. But anyway, in 2024, your earnings for that year. 2026, they will look at it and say, hey, we're going to see how much your Part B, Medicare Part B, and your Part D prescription drug premium will be. And we're going to charge you extra because in 2024, you had a bunch of earnings. And that's automatic. They're going to do that. But if you had a life-changing event, which sounds like you did because you retired since that time, then you just fill out, it's an SSA 44, and you just say, I had a life-changing event. I stopped working since then, and then they will just go ahead and cancel it out. And any money they took extra above and beyond, they'll return to you. So, and make sure they don't mess up like they had that one young lady from Pennsylvania where they take 17 months to do it. That's completely unacceptable, across the board. I told an older friend of mine about your channel here in Florida. He is having trouble with Social Security. Awesome. So if he has a detail, if you have a simple question, join the live Q&A. Mark, thank you very much for that. But if he has a more detailed question, like this young gentleman that we just helped out there, make sure he goes into our website, which is, let me put it up there, the mygovexpert.com. And then on the bottom left, you will see that's how you record a video question. So you can record a question, a comment, a suggestion, a complaint, whatever, and click on that, and you can do it for 2 minutes. You can record something for 2 minutes. And an accomplishment. So yeah, we're not getting very many accomplishments. So if you, it says, hey, Ed, I found your channel, or I was talking to Mark or Nona or Bella or whoever, and they told me about this, and I helped a friend, and now this friend is living a better life. And so, yeah, we want to see more of those, a lot more of those, because it happens every day, but people don't make videos about it. So let's make some videos about that. I am the unlucky one who got 2 fruitcake for Christmas. How can you get 2? They're all the same. They're all the same fruitcake. They just keep going around and around and around. Yeah. I'm dying here with them like bricks and tasting. I won't even go near it. Yeah. So you've got to put that back into the recycle. So it goes around there. They're actually a company. What's the name of the company in Texas that makes the best? It supposedly makes the best fruitcake there. And somebody put down there, conjunction junction. What's your function? I think. Yeah. So someone. Okay. Here's conjunction junction with what's America's malfunction. Yeah. So. All right. I'm going to move next year, and this is exactly the scenario I'm trying to avoid. Okay. What? Yeah. Anytime you move, you have to make sure you notify Social Security so they know, in case they need to send you, they'll send you stuff. And if it's returned, then they'll say, oh, this person is no longer out there. So they just might suspend your benefits. Usually don't. They just don't have enough employees to, monitor that as well as they possibly should. But it's always good to keep up. And if you notify Social Security, that also notifies Medicare. So that's good there. And if you have a Medicare plan, a Medicare supplement plan, a Medicare Advantage plan, a Part D plan, you also have to make sure you update that. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan and you move anywhere, even within the same city, it's a good idea to check to make sure your Medicare Advantage plan still is effective in your particular new area, your new zip code. Even if you move across the street, sometimes, it's different. For Medicare supplement plans, those are state specific. So if you move within the same state, you're good. And is the requirement repayment of the Treasury bonds for the government expenditures calculated into the forecast of the remaining years before cuts have to be made? Yep. And again, that's the Social Security trustees puts that in. Let me pull up you can go in. So this is just a cut and paste of that particular, the summary of the 2024. So the government, yep, there it is right there. So, the money is coming in interest, because it's Treasury bonds, and people say, well, it's loaned out. Yeah. When you put money in the bank, it just doesn't sit in the bank. Since we're in Christmas season, I saw somebody mention It's a Wonderful Life. Remember Jimmy Stewart says, no, the money's just not sitting in the bank. It's, loaned out to, Clarence and his home and Bill's and his home and yada, yada, yada. So the same thing with treasury bonds. We put the money in treasury bonds, and yes, the government does borrow that money to do other stupid stuff. But when the Social Security Trust demands that money, then it gets it back. And therefore it demanded $103.2 billion. And it got that money back. And every year it also, because that the government pays interest on that, we got $63 billion in interest from that money going out. Just like banks, that's why they do it. They get interest. Having dentures is a blessing, and family fights during the holidays, just take them out, put them on the table. Trust me, everyone calms them down. Yeah, I remember the old SNL skit, and it's like you play Adele, and then everybody shuts up, right? Back in the day, my mom loved fruitcake. I never had the heart to tell her I didn't like. My mom is passed now. No fruitcake for me. I miss mom. Yeah, so you might just have to have one just to in her memory, right? Handmade in England fruitcake is the best. We put brandy in it and real fruit. Oh, okay. Maybe that's the trick. We've been doing it wrong in the United States all these years. Any additional dollars for an 84-year-old neighbor who now has immaculate degenerative eye disease, practically blind now. Husband can't leave her alone. Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, once you hit your full retirement age, there is no more disability. Nobody in America is receiving Social Security disability benefits after their full retirement age. Everybody has switched to regular retirement benefits. That's the video I showed. That was his situation. So nothing, unfortunately, from Social Security in that particular case. If her benefit amount, but there's, hopefully she's getting everything she's eligible for. If her, she getting benefits from her spouse, is her full benefit amount less than half of his, or vice versa? If so, there might be some more money there. Have they applied for Medicaid to see if Medicaid, state Medicaid, whatever Medicaid they call Medicaid in that particular state, and if they get approved for the higher levels of Medicaid, then Medicaid will pay for their Part B premium and Part D. So if both of them are approved for that, then next year that puts another $404 into their pocket. So, and then there's, anything else I've got on our website. Let's pull it up here on mygovexpert.com. You click on there and you click on the Living on Social Security Alone. And it'll come up with other programs. SSI, if their benefit is under, there's a couple, if there as a couple of their benefit is under 1,491 for 2026, they might be eligible for that. Food stamps, that's being cut back significantly, but hey, might be able to get that. Medicare Savings Program, that's the one I just talked about on Medicaid. Medicaid there, the extra help with prescription drugs. A lot of these programs, unfortunately, are being cut back as, one big, beautiful bill. We just had Mike, who's an expert on housing, affordable housing, low-income energy assistance. This one's being cut back by the one big, beautiful bill. But hey, the millionaires and the billionaires get a big tax cut. So there's that. So great for them. But yeah. So yeah, anything else out there, let us know how else we can help. Donna from that, but hopefully that's a start. Donna from Utah. I'm 75, retired 7 years ago, received a letter from Social Security stating that they would not be taking my Medicare premium out of my check, but will continue taking out taxes. No explanation. So they're not taking out Medicare from your check because the state of Utah, you applied for Medicaid and the state is going to pay for your Part B premium, I'm assuming. And it's either that or you refused Part B, which hopefully you didn't, or there's another option that you signed up for a Medicare Advantage Part B give back, and it's paying all or part of your Part B premium. So those are the three possibilities there why you're not getting your Medicare premium being taken out. in terms of taxes, continue taking out taxes. Yeah, no, they don't take out taxes from your Social Security check unless you ask them to. Possibly that's what you did. At one time, you said you're working and you're making a lot of money, so you decided to go ahead and have taxes withheld from your Social Security check, and the president keeps saying there's no taxes on Social Security. 100% incorrect. If there's about 40 or 50% of people that will pay taxes on Social Security. But if you're getting taxes taken out, that's because you volunteered to do that. It's called a W-4V, voluntary tax withholding. So all you have to do is call Social Security and say, stop. I did that a few years ago when I was working, but now I don't want taxes withheld anymore, and they'll stop it. So easy, easy, easy. So hopefully they take care of you there. All right, let's see. Peace and love, Dr. Ed. Thank you for everything that you do to help this community, and please tell your son. Thank you. Oh, thank you. And thank you, because I know you're out there doing the same exact thing, taking this information and helping as many people as you possibly can. So let's see. All right. I think we're good for today. I don't see any other. I have a question. I have a program, a dual advantage plan, and they were not going to have it, so it rolled into another dual plan. Oh, okay. So yeah, that there were about, I haven't seen the final numbers, but probably about 1 million people lost their Medicare Advantage plans during this annual enrollment period for their 2026 because their current Medicare Advantage plan decided to pull out of that area or cancel or whatever. Most of them were PPOs, not HMOs, but PPOs, but not across the board. And unfortunately, this is another big thing. Those 1 million people, I certainly hope all 1 million people, whatever the final numbers are, but I think it's going to be close to about 1 million people. Hopefully, that 1 million people did the right thing and found a new, we're talking Medicare Advantage plan, and they found a new Medicare Advantage for 2026. If they didn't, and I guarantee you this happened last year as well, that a few 100,000 people didn't. They didn't get the letter. They didn't understand the letter. They just say, I've got the same plan and I'll just let it, if I don't do anything, it automatically re-enrolls. But this one, because it's canceled, it doesn't re-enroll. So unfortunately, I think in January, a lot of people are going to go to the doctor and they're going to hold back. They're going to hand over their Medicare plan card, and the doctor is going to say, yeah, that expired December 31st. So, and if it's and if they do it before they get their service, then they can, you can call chapter and get signed up for another one in January. It'll begin February 1st. But if something happens and it's an emergency type situation and you have to be seen, yeah, those people are going to be hurting. So if you know anybody, yeah, make sure they did the thing and they reviewed their plan. There's another limited opportunity if they didn't, starting January, February, March. So if it turns out you chose the wrong plan or you didn't choose your plan, then in January, February, March, you get one opportunity, a mulligan, I guess, to find a new Medicare Advantage plan. So if you do it in January, your new plan will begin in February. If you do it February, it'll begin in March. If you do it in March, it'll begin April 1st. So, all right, that is it for today. We're over an hour, and I won't be back tomorrow. I'll be back the next day, taking off, a little holiday. So I'll be back the day after. And so if you got any questions, just make sure you reach out at that time. But until then, y'all have an awesome